Hi, it's 1975 and welcome to Elite Dangerous on the Legacy version on Xbox. Now, I've been playing this game an incredible amount of time. My time played is at the ludicrous levels, the nerd weirdo levels, and I still come back to it for one simple thing. I like chatting with my friends and I love the thrill of the chase. If it wasn't for PvP piracy, I would have stopped playing this game a long time ago. I still to this day just get a bit of buzz out of random encounters with complete strangers, in which anything can happen. Like here, when you come across a guy that's got a little bit of everything, and you're most likely to just get limpets come out of him, but you've got to try it. It's like a slot machine. Let's see if we can get a black box and get out alive. And that's basically the fun of this encounter, because before I scan the guy, anything's possible. Before I interdict the guy, anything's possible. From this point onwards, anything's really possible. It might turn into a fight, might turn into a robbery. You just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to be successful or going to die trying. But it's all fun, and I enjoy my interactions with other commanders, both the positive ones and the negative ones. I do always get I get quite a lot of people that tell me the same thing over and over and over again. You're not playing this game correctly. There is a large proportion of this the player base that, unless it's PvE like stuff, you're doing it wrong. If you're not just purely playing this game as co-op, in their mind you're playing wrong. You're a wrong'un, you're doing it wrong. You're not playing the game the way it's intended to be played, according to them. Now, this has always made me laugh, because it's like, according to you, but you didn't make the game, you don't make the rules of the game, and I know from our interactions with the developers of the game and the community management team that what we're doing is actually part of the game as they intended. We've tried and failed to kidnap a member of the community management team. Admittedly, we did actually hold him hostage for a little while, but fair play to him. He rebooted and repaired, and he escaped legitimately using the in-game mechanics. Imagine that. He didn't combat log. There's so many people that would find that freaky. I mean, maybe we are a bit odd, maybe we do stand out, maybe we're just not the norm that people are used to seeing playing this game. There are a lot of people that have very funny ideas about how this game should be played and what sort of players are allowed to play it. But to me, I think we're quite ordinary in terms of how this game's played.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Ed.
Morning, Brian.
Morning, Ed.
Morning, Captain.
Arr.
From my in-game experience as a roleplay pirate, it's about a 50-50 between players who like what we do and hate what we do. And it's interesting because a lot of the hate comes from people who never actually play in open, they only ever play in PvE modes. They play in private, group and solo, but don't like stuff that people do in open. Now, I get it, but you're complaining about stuff that happens in a mode you don't even play in. Plus, it is something that's totally allowed by the developers. They give us the tools, they give us the equipment, they give us the ability to do what we do. You can set your carrier up for piracy mode, for God's sake. Being a roleplay pirate is something that happens in this game, and like I said before, we've tried to kidnap developers and members of the community management team. We've had fun nights chatting to them, and they've been very supportive of roleplay piracy in the game. It's something that Brayburn mentioned in many interviews before the game came out. This is the first Elite that's had a multiplayer element, and I actually think they did a lot right with the multiplayer element. I know a lot of people disagree with me, especially the private groupers and some of the solo players who would prefer the game if it was PvE only. Now, I understand that from their point of view. A consensual PvP mode only would be something that a lot of players would like to see. I personally would not, because the whole idea of Elite Dangerous is it's the biggest open world sandbox you could possibly have, and anything goes in open, and I think that's amazing. I do maybe think that in the future the next Elite Dangerous will have a opt-in or opt-out of PvP. I believe they have a similar system to that in No Man's Sky, and there's some other role-play games that they're like, if someone shoots you, until you shoot back, it doesn't really do a lot. I can see that being a thing in future versions of Elite Dangerous, because this is the first time they've done a multiplayer version of their game, and the feedback from the Care Bear community has been very overwhelmingly like, oh my god, you should never have done this or allowed that or done this, that and the other. Me personally, I love some of the choices that FDev made. The bravery and stupidity of this game, as a product, is absolutely insane. If you took this game to a AAA studio, they would never have released it. They would have been like, are you mad? Players aren't going to want that. Players aren't going to like this. Players aren't going to do that, is all they would have said. They would have focused on focus groups feedback, and they would have put fast travel in the game to make it easier. They just wouldn't have understand what we love about Elite, and what a lot of people love about Elite. The fact it is a one-to-one recreation of the Milky Way, the fact that it is you're spanning mind-bogglingly humongous distances, the fact that you can spend all that time sat in Super Cruise going to Hutton, and people willingly do that. I mean, no game developer, I think, if a AAA studio is going to think, well, that's sensible, let's put in a travel time like that in the game. I think the way AAA studios think about games is not the way a small independent developer like Frontier or Braeburn in particular think about a game. And now, I think there's going to be another Elite further down the line? Of course there will be. As much as FDev got slated over the release of Odyssey and been slated about some of the stuff that they've done in this game, I think if you take a step back or two and look at the game as a whole, it didn't really start getting negatively review spammed until it had been out for 7 years. Even its harshest critics, when you talk to them, the ones that don't like this game because they played it for years and they got fed up, most of the complaints were they got fed up with the grind, or it got too much for them. But if you look at their time played, they sunk a lot of time into this game, so they were obviously finding something alluring about it. There are people that just don't get it, and the weird and wonderful thing about Elite Dangerous, the one thing I really love, is it's all up to you. It's an open world sandbox game. If you want to be a murder hobo and kill everyone, you can. If you want to be a pacifist trader, you can. If you want to spend 6 months seeing sites that no one's ever seen before, or driving around planet surfaces that no one's ever driven on before, you can. It's an open world sandbox game which allows you the ultimate freedom to do what you want. There is no overarching driving storyline that forces you to do story missions or speak to specific NPCs or anything like that. There's a little bit of you have to get certain reputation if you want to unlock certain things, but ultimately your overall goal and game is up to you. You can do what you want. You are given that freedom by the developers, and that's what I love about this game. There is no right and wrong. There's no right and wrong way to play. There's no right and wrong ship to use. And anyone who says that piracy is not allowed, really, they give us the tools. If you go in the player handbook, it even tells you how to do PvP piracy, or at least there's a section for it. I don't see the section for combat logging here, that all the people that claim combat logging is allowed. It's not included in the handbook, but PvP piracy is. They give us the hatch breakers, they give us the collector limpets, they give us the manifest scanner. We can set our carriers to piracy mode, and it even does a blurb, though I disagree with the way piracy is being reported to being done. Overwhelming firepower for me is not the way to go. Underwhelming firepower that you don't kill the target, that's the way to go. Don't trust traders to have done their engineering, because it's too easy to kill traders if you're not careful. and that's hence why I like to use some fun, silly builds like my Cobra Mark IV with its missiles that cause lots of effects. Not the most damaging. I mean, if you want to go to the most damaging build with fixed missiles, you put Super Pen on a lot of them. But I've got ridiculous, things on this ship, ridiculous upgrades to get as many silly messages as possible. FSD disrupt, heat them up, and emissive. Target signature increased, hull in heat increasing, and FSD disrupt and detected. And then I've got an enzyme missile for more effects. And that's it. Just so they hear a voice telling them loads of effects, they think they're being attacked by something way more deadly than a Cobra Mark IV with no shields. But yeah, there's no right or wrong. There's even no right or wrong way to do PvP piracy. The Frodo method of absolutely and utterly annihilating them until their drives are taken out and then emptying them mercilessly, that's valid piracy. It's allowed. The Polo method, which is I like to emulate, which is the polite asking for cargo first and taking it if they don't give it to you, that's allowed as well. And if you want to go out into deep space in a Type 9, you can. And if you want to trade in a Vulture or a Mamba, you know what? You can. And that's what I love about Elite Dangerous. There's no right or wrong. There's optimal and suboptimal ways of doing things, but ultimately, who cares as long as you're having fun? Just don't cheat and have fun. That's really all you can say about this game. Anyway, that's all, and always remember,
everything's better with pirates.